Namaskar. I am very thankful to Bigyan Bharati for giving me an opportunity to associate it in today's lecture series. The Northeast Science Movement Forum under Bigyan Bharati is working actively in India for popularization of science among masses. My topic of discussion today would be the strengthening state strategies for climate actions. This is a program conceived by United Nations Development Program and being supported by Swiss Agency for Development and Corporations. And this particular program was on increasing the resilience of mountain communities for adapting to climate change. This was implemented in collaboration with Ministry of Environment and Forest, Government of India, and the state government of Sikkim. As we all know that the whole northeastern region, including Sikkim, is very vulnerable to climate change impacts and effects in various major sectors. The state of Sikkim in eastern Himalaya is facing significant challenges related to climate variability and exposure to climate risk. As we know, the major population of any India is dependent on climate sensitive sectors such as water, agriculture, forest, water, and livelihood security, etc. The policy framework that is being designed to address the climate change at present at the national level is the National Action Plan for Climate Change, under which every state has developed state action plan for climate change at the subnational level to address the adversity of climate change through appropriate adaptations and mitigation measures. The idea of this project is how to operationalize the state action plan on climate change and also the mainstream climate change in state plans and policies, so that comprehensive actions can be undertaken for addressing climate change at the state level. The first outcome of the program was how to enhance the capacities and capability of state authorities and the state government departments to implement state action plan on climate change. So UNDP and SDC program did a training need assessment or the capacity need assessment just to know what are the needs, what are the gaps, what are the things that are required to be done especially in regards to the climate change sector. Then depending on the recommendations and the actions that has emerged from the training need assessment, accordingly UNDP has developed sector specific training module for major sectors like water, forest and disaster risk reductions. Then UNDP organized various trainings at different levels, and a pool of master trainer were created with the help of the Administrative Training Institute under the government of Sikkim. Then various orientation program was also organized on the topics of vulnerability to climate change to the Sikkim Himalayas, and how to monitor and evaluate the implementation of state action plan on climate change. Then state nodal agency for this program was the Department of Science and Technology and Climate Change, Government of Sikkim. The state nodal agency and cross-sectoral officials were sensitized for the development of vulnerability risk assessment at Gangtok in collaboration of Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and a comprehensive vulnerability risk assessment framework was developed in convergence of Indian Himalayan Climate Adaptation Program under Swiss Development Agency. UNDP also supported the Rural Management and Development Department for developing a project proposal for village water security plan, for developing village water security plan and accessing climate finance from the National Adaptation Fund under MOEFCC, Government of India. Then we also organize certain exposure visit to various other Himalayan states for the exchange of knowledge and information that are going on in the arena of climate change adaptations. One of the exposure visit was to the Ladakh in Jammu and Kashmir to know about the water conservation and management in high Himalayas. The second outcome of the program was the operationalizing state action plan on climate change in the state of Sikkim. Under that, we have undertaken many adaptation actions in important area like disaster risk reduction sector. As you know, the mountain state in all the Himalayan belt are very prone to disaster risk. So a multi-hazard risk and vulnerability assessment was done in 3 district headquarters of Sikkim, in Mangan, Gazing and Namchi, in collaboration with Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority and Taru. At the same time, we also did participatory rural appraisal for preparedness and increasing climate resilience of communities in 16 model Gram Panchayat unit to prepare the communities to face the disaster risk, because the communities are the first responder to the disaster risk in the event of any disaster. The whole idea is a 2-pronged strategy at the government level to sensitize or to build capacity at the departmental level to address the climate risk with regards to disaster. Also at the grassroots level, at the community level, how to face the disaster risks, how to identify what are the disasters that they may face in the coming days, and how to identify the evacuation risks or evacuation plan, how to make evacuation plan with the district and sub-district authorities. Secondly, as you all know, the Himalayas are regarded as the water towers of Asia, as it contains very important glaciers, which are the source of many important river systems in Asia. So our second thrust was on the water sector, how to ensure the water security in Sikkim Himalayas. As part of that program, we undertook intervention of inventorying of water resources in Sikkim Himalayas. As you know, the major water resources in Sikkim were the high altitude wetlands and the rivers and the lakes. So we have supported the Department of Science and Technology and Climate Change for inventorizing water resources in Sikkim with the present status and the pressures, and what are the interventions that the government should take for preservation and conservation of these precious water resources. And as an output of this intervention, there is a development of a comprehensive wetland atlas for Sikkim was done successfully. Then at the same time, it was found that although the whole Himalayan region, the Sikkim Himalaya, receives very high rainfall in a year, around 2,500 mm to 3,000 mm, but because of the terrain conditions, steep terrain conditions, a very less water can be retained at the surface. So we also supported the government for demonstration of modern rooftop rainwater harvesting in the drought-prone GPUs as identified in the State Action Plan on Climate Change, with the support from IISc Bangalore. Then coming to another important sector, as I was mentioning, that it is found that the high altitude wetlands many a time poses as a threat like an atom bomb in the case of the glacial lake outburst flood, as the India has seen once several years back in case of Kedarnath tragedy. So Sikkim also have hundreds of glacial lakes at different high altitude mountains. So one of the glacial lakes is the South Lonak Lake, which is identified by the government as a potential vulnerable lake which may become a threat for the future Gulf kind of a situations. So UNDP has supported to undertake a pilot project how to reduce the risk of Gulf of the South Lonak Lake. The interventions that were carried out under that program is how to reduce the level of water of the South Lona Glacier Lake by an engineering intervention of siphoning through establishing a set of pipes at the mouth of the lake and draining excess water from the lake, and then draining that water into the natural small channel coming out of the lake. Then most importantly, building the adaptive capacities of communities, how to prepare themselves in the wake of a gulf. Then preparation of evacuation and response plan by the communities with the help of state Sikkim disaster risk state Sikkim SSDMA, Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority and District Disaster Management Authority. Then we also supported with the help of bringing Swiss expertise under Swiss Development Agency from how to help the government in developing an integrated early warning system for the Gulf disaster. Then continuing with the water sector, we also, as you all know, the Sikkim has got two best practices. One is the organic farming, of course. The second is the climate proofing of the Springshed Development Program. So the Springshed Development Program, as it is, has become very popular for conserving water in the Himalayan region, all over the country, and even to the neighboring countries of Nepal and Bhutan. Many teams have come to the Sikkim to learn how to practice this Springshed Development Program or Dhara Vikas program. We from the UNDP has helped for climate proofing of this Springshed Development Program by supporting them with small science and technology interventions. First, we have supported for the identification and RHGIS mapping of 2000 spring ground survey to create an inventory of springs, and many of the springs are drying up because of the climate change impacts in the high Himalayas. So it was necessary to undertake a study of this hydrogeological study of this spring, and accordingly it was supported for 2000 spring. Then also how to establish a monitoring mechanism of critical spring on with hydrometeorological parameters like discharge, rainfall, variations, etc. through different seasons, and that we have supported with the help of IIT Roorkee and RMDD Department, Government of Sikkim. Then we also did community sensitization and awareness program of Dhara Vikas in 12 drought-prone blocks of South and West Sikkim. Then in the forest sector, we also wanted to support for developing a resilient and contiguous forest landscape by by assessing the linkage of the corridors, forest corridors among the protected areas. The basic interventions were to delineate and mapping of corridors linking various protected areas in Sikkim, to assess the habitat quality of the select corridors and the migration of species, and identify areas along the corridors with high probability of negative human-wildlife conflict. As you all know, the human-wildlife conflict is increasing because of the fragmentation of the forest areas and also the encroachment of the forest areas because of many development activities. So the whole idea is to restore the natural connectivity of the corridors and identify the disturbances because of various development activities, so that the restoration of corridors can take place for the movement of the species, for not only the animal species, also the expansion of the floral species as well, so that there can be a contiguous bigger landscape as an adaptive capacity, to increase the adaptive capacity of the climate change, of the forest landscape towards climate change. Then the third thing is the dissemination of information as knowledge management and outreach. We have developed many information and knowledge products like brochures, like guidebooks, like information manual on all these sectors, DRR, forest and water, and disseminated among different stakeholders, not only the government, the non-government agencies, the research institutions, the other regional institutions like ICMOD and all. I'm very happy to share that we could organize an inter-country regional workshop involving India, Nepal and Bhutan on the glove risk management and forest fire. And we also could able to send a team from the Sikkim government to present this project findings in World Mountain Forums and also the International Climate Conference, the COP. So it was a very nice experience of walking in the eastern Himalayan state of Sikkim. And very importantly, the whole project of strengthening state strategies for climate actions has got a high potential of replication in the other northeastern Himalayan states. So we look forward that the other state government will also come up with similar project to address the important negative impact of climate change in eastern Himalayan region. And we hope that from our organizations, UNDP and other international organizations will definitely continue to support these important issues for the sustainable development of the whole region. Thank you very much.